So we're staying on the same topic, and I'm very happy to say that I will argue some of the same, will put forward some of the same arguments that Søren and Michael just put forth. That's happy we're on the same page finally after much hassle. But I will present a few thoughts on centrality and metalworking, but I will do so from a spatial macro perspective, looking at the sites as dots on a map, as we are so good at doing as archaeologists. And as part of my thesis project, I'm performing a large-scale survey of sites with metallurgical debris using the Archaeological Sites and Monuments database from the Swedish National Heritage Board, which is a nowadays online database of more or less all find spots and excavated sites and heritage projects in present-day Sweden. And I'm mapping these sites in a GIS environment and a multivariate database to see to get a big, large-scale spatial sort of map painting of the metalworking landscape, if you will. And I'm in the large-scale perspective defining the sites as either production sites, distribution sites, or consumption sites, and sometimes all or some of those attributes. And according to the number and the types of metals utilized on the sites. And this large-scale survey will then be put into an in-depth landscape analysis of a focus area consisting of the southernmost counties of Sweden, Scandinavia and Blekinge. So, in the title of the paper, you saw the term Multimetalsmithing, and that's the term I use to describe any metalworking environment, really crafts-milieu, that utilizes more than one metalworking technique or more than one metal in the object manufacture. And as Søren possibly argued, crafts can't be seen as separated from each other, and that doesn't only go for leatherworking and metalworking in making something for a horse harness. That also goes for the metalworking itself. So metalworking, in my view, should be viewed as a complex craft, and this is contrary to the common interpretation of metalworking, where sites usually are interpreted as dedicated to a single metalworking technique or one utilized metal resource. And I especially see this in district division in interpretations of sites containing ferrous versus non-ferrous metalworking in our interpretations. And in my view, you can only look at the object inventory, as was argued in the previous paper, to see that you really need this complex approach. And to top that, more and more evidence are turning up from production sites with, for instance, smithing slag with copper droplets or lead droplets in them, really telling us firsthand that these sort of crafts were taking place in the same environments. So how do I define the presence of multi-metal craftsmanship then? I exclusively target my survey to metallurgical debris, for instance iron slag, melts and spillages and so forth. And of course I take into account recorded features of metalworking, and I draw on interpretations from project reports and inventory notes. And I also, for the determination of the production sites or distribution sites or consumption sites, I take into account the spatial attributes of the site. And most commonly, it's a matter of having, say, smithing slag and evidence for zero alloy working in the same chronological context or in the same deposits. That said, this being a very large-scale inventory, sort of a matte painting of the background, as I said before, there are obvious issues of chronology. There are different projects, excavations, metal detecting, field walking surveys, and so forth. So the resolution of the database as such is quite different per site. And there's also a problem of craft division, since we have this, as I said, the assumptions of a clear division between metalworking or ferrous metalworking and non-ferrous metalworking. So if you don't have a secure chronology, you immediately, or traditionally at least, you decide it's divided. And the methodological biases I've already touched upon, but one thing that I should say, of course, as well, is the different resolution of the database that arises from the density or the frequency of archaeological projects in any given area, since my area is the whole of Sweden in this large scale. Well, going to the conceptual aspects of this, the multimetality, as I choose to call it, it normally deals with exclusive metalworking in one sense or the other, and that's been taken as has been shown in several papers today as signifying economical, political, or social superiority and centrality in that sense. The multimetalsmithing itself, as was argued in the previous paper, requiring the competences and raw materials only obtainable through the arenas of contact that arise from the central areas or urban areas, if you like. It's also assumed that consumer competence is becoming more refined with decreased centrality, and that centrality and urbanity, as was again said in the previous paper, decreases the need for metalworker mobility. So here we have the area is the whole area of Sweden, but the survey sort of delimits itself to the most southern part, although I have certain sites up all the way up in the north. Just to give you a quick overview on how it should look, the survey, as I said, is in progress, but if you look just briefly at the map and in relation to the earlier urban environments in present-day Sweden, you see that yes, the sites, the multi-metal sites in this map is the red dots, and the black dots are iron production sites. So you can see that yes, there is a good clustering against the early urban environments or the areas of centrality in the preceding Iron Age. But the picture is far from exclusive. So summing these observations up, as I said, the picture is far from exclusive, and communicative aspects are very common. The sites are placed adjacent to waterways or, as is also the case, network nodes in the road systems in the Iron Age and early medieval period. Flat agrarian settings are preferred, even though these lack the essential resources for, let's say, smithing. You need a good load of charcoal to perform that on any large scale. And the sites with both smithing and copper alloy work, or other types of multi-metal smithing, are commonly placed at a distance from the iron-producing regions. So we can say that multi-metal craftsmanship occurs abundantly in the overall landscape, and that communicative potential is crucial. And I could see, as was again argued in the previous paper, that the arenas of contact is really a key resource in this type of craftsmanship. So it's very important to look at these places as both places of production, distribution, and consumption, to get the full picture of the multimetality, both of the producers, the distributors, and the consumers of the metalwork. And we do need to focus on the mobility of metalwork and the mobility of metalworkers as something complex and dynamic, as was again argued in many papers as regard into the urban areas today in this session. Well, looking briefly at the focus area, this is the most southern areas of Scandinavia. You can see more clearly then, I hope, that that there is a clustering against the earliest urbanities and the Iron Age central locations. I won't go into any specific examples because I'm trying to keep this macro scale perspective on things, but I'll give you just a short run of a few sites. And the first one here up in the county of Blekinge. It's size-wise quite small site, but it's not placed, as we have seen previously today, close to any waterway, but it's on a trading route going that way and upwards as well. And it's dated from the Roman Iron Age and up onto the Vandal and early Viking Age. Another typical site is Aarhus, and that is, as we have seen many examples of today, a trading, mostly interpreted as a trading site, and has a slightly more compressed chronology concerning Vandal and Viking ages. And Uppåkra as well, in comparison to Vong, which I started out at, it's not connected to a waterway as such, but it's on a road, large communicative artery road in the network. And this is a big site. This is about 40 hectares with a chronology stretching from the Roman Iron Age up until the late Viking Age, when the city of Lund was founded. So these are the typical sites in my survey. Here I always find the presence of multimetal craftsmanship, of course. But there is also other site that doesn't really fall into the category, and these are mostly evidential production sites or consumption sites. So, looking further to multimetality and centrality, the site survey hints at both spatial and chronological complexity, and multimetality and centrality are interconnected on political, social, and economic levels, and the relationship are best viewed in terms of interdependency. And I would argue, in relation to this, as we have seen in previous papers today as well, that centrality could have been a consequence or a deliberate necessity of concepts such as multimetality, or vice versa. So, looking at the results I'm hoping to get from this, I can see several levels of multimetality in the landscape survey, and that corresponds to production scale and quality or complexity of the metalwork performed or consumed. And my question, of course, how does this correspond to levels of centrality? We can always say that the picture is more complex than we would have thought so far, but we shouldn't really stay at that level of resolution. But that being said, the differences that I see so far between the central sites and the provincial sites are, as to the estimates of production scale and continuity and chronology of the sites and the metalworking quality, are not uniform or obvious in any sense. And it would be crucial in my continued work to stick with this definition of sites as production, distribution, or consumption sites. And we should maybe look at central areas and not central confined spaces. So I would argue that the study of metallurgical debris, spatially as well as through material analysis, is crucial in understanding the production stages of metalworking, and also centrality as interlinked to metalworking. And we should focus on the communicative aspects of the centralities and understanding the relevance to the production and distribution and consumption of metalwork. And we should envision larger areas of urban or central influence rather than enclosed and formalized central, urban or focal places. Thank you.